Well, hello. Today I want to talk about my cell phone. This is an iPhone SE, and this is the last of the ones that actually are small enough to fit in my hand, fit in my pocket. They don't make these anymore, and I really like this phone a great deal. So I want to kind of keep it around a little bit longer. Well, here are all the tools I need to change the battery on my SE here. And as we can see right here, I'm down to like 12%, and it says service at 86%. So that pretty much means the phone needs to be taken, has a battery change in it. So I got this battery here they sent, and basically here's the tools that came for like $6. These tools here, minus that there. So all this here. I spent a little bit more and got one of these here. It's supposed to make my life a little bit easier. Got a better spudger, as they call it, as well. And from a different tool kit, I got some tweezers that are at an angle. And then I got some scissors, and here's the adhesive. I'm still not 100% sure I want to use this adhesive, but I may have to use that for right now. So first thing I need to do is take the case off the phone. Hopefully that's the hardest part of changing this battery, is getting the OtterBox off. So there we are, got the OtterBox. I can clean that a little bit later. So there's the phone right there. Okay. So I got a couple pieces of paper here, and I like using that to kind of keep it in order, keep track where everything's at and whatnot. So 2 little bitty screws right there, and this little hex tool. Man, that's the tiny little. Man, those are tiny. I watched this show called Voyager, and on there they had Thomas Edison, and he took apart this device called the Omni, and he basically put everything in order so he could put it back in there. So I kind of learned that. So whenever I just kind of basically do the outline of that. I don't think I absolutely have to do this part here, but I'll go ahead and take out my little SD card, the little card there for there. So I'll take that part out and let's put that out to the side there. There's that little tool. Okay, and there, you can use this here and get as close to the home button as possible. But I saw this one here, and I thought, well, that's going to be a lot easier to do, so I'm just going to use this instead. And same thing, get as close to that home button as possible, right in the middle of the phone. And it said basically to press down on there, get some suction on there. So kind of squeeze that out a little bit. And supposedly, if I did everything right, it will come off. I'm kind of afraid right now, I ain't gonna lie. Apple, why can't you make stuff easier to open up? All right, I think that's it. There we go. It only took 11 minutes to get it apart. So there it is. Happy dance. All right. So now, it said don't open it too much because you got this little area right here. You need to undo and whatnot, but yeah, right there. Okay. So this next part, they said it was pretty dang tough. I'll zoom into it so you can sort of see this. Right here, I got to pull out. So it said basically use the spudger. Man, it's a small little thing. It said be careful because that thing can fly out. So I'm going slow. Put that right over there. Okay. it says you can just use this thing to pop it up. And there it is. So now I can lift the screen up all the way. And I guess I can kind of happily I play guitar and I have nails. These almost remind me of guitar picks, except they're kind of too thick for guitar picks. All right, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to loosen this up a little bit. Well, I think this tool helped out a little bit. There we go. All right, so one of the videos suggested that you just basically take your screen and put it at a 90-degree angle. And take some rubber bands, and that way you won't break the screen. So just put it against that, and that way it's not gonna be hurt and whatnot. So okay. So I'll kind of turn it around this way a little bit. Got my screws over here. I got my parts over here. Hopefully I don't knock it down. All right. I fail already. I'm already a failure. Okay. So they're basically saying it's just the regular screwdriver for the next couple of things. So I'll kind of zoom in a little bit on that so you can see me unscrew it. Okay, so it's basically saying it's some regular screw unscrews. So I'll put that there. Man, these are tiny. Man, it's inside my phone. I've never seen it inside my phone. There's 3 over here. There's 4 over here. A box shape for my screws over here. I'm kind of hit and miss if I like it being magnetized or not, but these are so tiny. I'm kind of liking them. Being that small. Okay. So there's that one there. And then basically that comes off. There's that little screw that I missed. Come on up. Use the little tweezers then. Put that there. Okay. All right. So they were saying, and then I'll take this off here as well. a little bit stuck a little bit there. All right, so you can see all of them right there in the shape of how I took it out of the phone. All right, we're getting close to getting done. Okay, some of the guides say basically to take apart, take the battery off first, so that way nothing's going to happen to the phone, which that makes sense to me. That makes sense. Okay, and then over here you take off, and it looks like some of this stuff's already kind of taken off from the, I guess it's being used over the years. So there's that part right there. Seems to be stuck to a little bit of something else. And then there's that part there. Okay. There's two of them. Ah, there we go. So now I can disconnect that from the phone just a little bit like that. So this is the part that's scaring me more than anything else, is basically taking the battery out, and there's apparently some sticky part material that's here. So right here you can pull up the material that you can pull the tape out, and I saw a couple of things. One said to cut it, and the others that said you can just kind of pull it out. So this is the part I've been dreading more than anything else. And supposedly when you pull this out, it loses its stickiness when it gets, I guess, when it touches air. Ah, man, I broke it. Did exactly what I didn't want to do. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I had to take it different measures. I actually had to take it to a local restaurant and use our hand dryer to heat the back of this thing up and front of it, and I was finally able to kind of pry it out a little bit with that tool there, using this side here like that. Oh man, that was kind of a nightmare. And so now I got the fun part, just taking off the rest of this adhesive. Hopefully I can just pull it up and get it out of there. But you can see there, you know, it's not an even thing. So I'll say this adhesive definitely sticks a great deal. So yeah, definitely sticking great. I don't know how they came up with this tape, but it worked. It's a lot easier doing this side here, isn't it? Hallelujah. Woo! Man. All right. Well, that was the part I was the most scared of, without a doubt. So, yeah. All right. So now we can get back on track. Hopefully, the heat didn't hurt the phone, and I did my best to keep it on this side here and away from the logic board and everything else. So, hopefully, I didn't mess anything up over here by the phone jack, the headphone jack here. Hoping it's all good. So there's the bad battery. Goodbye. And here's the new battery. Don't know if it's as good as that battery, but it's probably going to give a little bit more life than another one. I almost don't even want to put tape on there, but Making sure it's going to fit in there. You know what? It is so tight like that. I'm not even going to put tape on it. I think it'd be fine like this. I don't think it's going to move around a whole lot, so I don't think I'm going to put tape on it. I'm going to live dangerously and not even put tape on it. Because it's snug as a bug right there. It's not falling out. So yeah, I don't think that's going anywhere. I'm not gonna, I got some tape here. I'm not even gonna deal with it. All right, let's see if this fits back on. Well, boy, that's really tiny there. I guess that's it. Bam. There it is right there. The battery's in there. Again, I didn't use tape. I just put it in there and I think it's going to be all right. I don't think I have, honestly, I don't think I have a ton more life on this phone anyways. Whew. And if I got to change this battery again, taking the screws apart is not near as difficult. So basically, it's got to go backwards now and put it in there. So I guess one of the things is this thing here. Make sure that the screen goes on. So it seems like it's snapped in there, but I'll use a little tool to make sure it's snug in a bug there. Okay. And then the second one. Some of the tape there is kind of sticking it to it. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So I got that plugged in. Before I do anything else, I'm just going to turn it on to make sure it works. So, hey, got a screen. Cool beans. So all I got to do is just plug it back in. Wow, so even the 53%, they even got a battery charge on there. So cool. All right, let's slide it off. Hopefully the digitizer works. Okay, cool. So, all right. So now it's got to basically just put all that stuff back in there and then be ready to roll. I think the idea of using this box here with a rubber band was actually pretty cool, pretty useful, pretty handy. You know, kind of thinking about this out loud. Would I do this again? Man, I don't know. This is a lot of time. Fortunately for me, I like my cell phone. I like cell phones. But it's not mission critical for me. So at least right now, I'm definitely not mission critical right now. You know what? I think I'm gonna move that over just a little bit, just because I'm here right now. Over the years, I guess that kind of moved out of the way. So I'll just put it back, assuming that's where it was right there. Yeah, at least got it pretty close. Okay. So one little tiny screw at a time. Woo! These are so tiny. You know, I see actually some, on a little screw there, I see some little bit of corrosion going on. So I guess that's because the water that happens, I guess because having it in my pocket or in the case or whatever. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Man, these are some of the tiniest screws I've ever dealt with in my life. All right, good. So, if you think about the price of this, I've spent about, I don't know, about $12 on all the parts here for some of the tools and the battery. So the next time I do it, it'd be a little bit less. But it's a good hour, probably 2 hours into this. So if I would have spent $50 and have Apple do it, of course I got to drive down to Houston. That was the biggest thing. Honestly, if I was in Houston next to an Apple store, I'm sure I would have probably just gone over there and had them take care of this. Let the pros do this. But it is cool to know that you can do this yourself too. And I'm definitely not a pro. I've taken apart a couple of things before, but I've never done this before. So if you're broke, don't have any money, I'd say you could do it. Man, when I charge $50 for this, I don't know. Probably charge a lot more than that. And you know, Apple does have the option you can mail it in, but then you're without your phone for, you know, days. So most of us can't do that, or unwilling to do that. Okay. So this is where the little battery hinge is at. And you know what? Maybe it's a dumb decision not putting tape on there, but you know what? I had such a nightmare taking that tape off. I don't feel bad not doing that. Well, the two parts that scared me was taking the phone, cracking the phone apart, and taking the tape off from watching all the guides online. I was justified by that, because that is definitely the hardest part. Obviously, there's no reason why Apple couldn't have made this where you could just take it apart yourself and had it work. So one last part, two last thing, well, three last little things. So now, making sure that's hinged in there correctly. Okay, so make sure this digitizer works. Gotta put that in there. Fits on like a Lego, it says. I never had Legos as a kid. Had some friends that had Legos, but I never really had Legos. Not anti-Lego, just they were expensive when I was a kid, but man, now they're through the roof of expensive. Hey, I think I might have looked out. Come on, be cool. It's like working on Data, Lieutenant Commander Data in Star Trek: The Next Generation. All these small little parts and everything. Oh my goodness. Come on. Come on, can't we be cool? Come on, Apple. All right. I think I heard it snap on. All right. A couple last things, and then we are getting close to being done. Man, this thing is just so dang tiny. So I spent a while on it. I finally believe I got it snapped in there good enough. It looks a little bit like on a arch, but it's not coming out. It's not falling out. So seeing it's going to be compressed together, I don't think it's going to come off. So I'm just going to call that good for right now. Before I snap it in, I am going to test it out and make sure the digitizer works, because no reason to put it back together if the digitizer doesn't work. So, and I was going to make this thing as a how-to video, but I think I'm going to show you how long it actually takes to do this. So there's still 20 minutes of me being in a restaurant. Okay, so I got to type in my code, because I won't let you do it with that. But it looks like the digitizer's working. Yeah, it's working. Okay, cool. So let's see. All right, cool. All right, the digitizer seems to work. So now I'm going to turn this back off again, make sure I don't hurt my phone. Come on, turn off. Oh, that's cool. All right, so now I'm just going to put it back together now. So everything's in there, and just slowly press down. So I'm hoping that I made the right decision not to put the tape in there. I'll say this, at least the next time I got to take this thing apart, if I take it apart again, which I don't know if I will or not. I'll probably get another phone at some point. Okay, so once I got it in there, I kind of snapped that in there, so it's not falling out. So I think it's in there pretty good, but that took a while to do. So this whole process took a while. So now make sure this is in there, housed well, and then supposedly you can just kind of go by and do this. I'm being careful not to press down anything. Okay, I felt some resistance there, so I checked to make sure. I think you just got to keep on just pressing down a little bit in it, and then eventually goes in. Wow. Man, that was a lot of time to do that. All right, and finally, finally, we use a different screwdriver. Make sure it's all pressed in there well. And it looks like it's pressed in there pretty well. I think so. So this video was going to be a quick how-to video in like 3 minutes, how to put this thing together. I may cut one of those together, but also I think it's kind of nice to see that how long it actually takes you to do this, and it's probably better just to pay somebody to actually do this instead of taking a bazillion hours of your life to do this. So let's put this in there. I think it's a good sign it's going in there. So you can see how corroded the see that little corrosion that's there. I would say definitely if you do this, have a table that doesn't have a lot of stuff, and I think using these papers will help out a lot as well. So man, these are tiny little screws. I might get them too tight, but there it is. There's the phone back together, and finally I'll put the little card in there. There we go. Got my phone. And there it is. Got the phone. All I got to do is put the case back on it, and I'll be ready to go. So, yeah. And there it is. Starting up my phone. I'll put the auto case back on in a minute. Normally, I haven't really used this phone hardly at all without the auto case on. So, yeah. I'll be honest with you. This took a long time to do, to put this thing together. And it's almost better to me if I were to have basically, let's see, what time did I start this thing? About 9:30 range. It's now 12:06. So that's a lot of hours there going into it. I think you see those videos and think, hey, it's going to take 5 minutes to do this and whatnot. No, it's not. So if you have no money at all and you only got $8 to do this, you still need to buy this. This was like another $4 or $5, $6. If you wait a little bit longer, you can get that. I had another tool I got from the dollar store. Like, you really need one of these things that it didn't come with. Little tweezer type thing. These tweezers here are not angled enough to be able to do this, and so you need at least that. But let's look at the battery life on this thing. And battery health, it's kind of searching in there. And again, this is a third-party battery, so I'm sure it's not quite the same. I'm sure this is so it's kind of just looking in there, battery health. But it does have 48% of the charge, so I don't know if they actually had it with a full charge or not. So anyways, I was just curious to see what the battery life on this thing is, but it may take a little time for it to figure it out because it's probably not a real Apple battery. But it works, and I'll kind of keep you up to date to see how long this thing actually works. Hopefully, I get more of a screen time. I'm hoping that not putting in the adhesive was a good choice. And for me, if I ever want to take this thing apart again, which I'm not sure I really want to, it would make it a lot easier for me to do that. So I'm going to say this honestly, I would recommend you just get a professional to do this. The Apple Store does it for $50 for this for the SE model. I think it's more for like you get the bigger phones and whatnot. And we're all kind of used to having phones and everything. So happily, I didn't break the phone, at least not yet. And but it took a good amount of time. It took 2.5 hours ish, at least. And some of it's like, man, I don't know if I did this right, man, because I'm kind of pot committed. When the battery the adhesive wasn't coming off of that. Initially, taking off the screen was a lot harder than it looks on the videos as well. So I'm glad I had this tool. I think it helped out a little bit. But yeah, so my recommendation is not to do this, is to get someone who's a professional to change your battery. Unless you want to spend 3 hours on a weekend to do this to save, I don't know, $40, because it's $8 for the battery and stuff like that. You pay for shipping. So is $20 an hour, are you worth that? Do you make more than that? If you make more than that, I'd say just hire someone else to do this. So anyways, thank you for watching. As always, rock and roll, of course, it does compute. It's been about, I don't know, a little over 12 hours since I put the new battery into the phone. And so far, it charged up fine. I took it off its charger about 10:30 today, and right now it's about 140, and I'm about 77%. Use a little bit of Bluetooth, use Wi-Fi on there, and the battery this still says service, and I think that's because it's a knockoff battery. So I don't think I'm going to be able to tell that for tell if it's actually what the life specificity on it is. But so far at this point, I'd already be dead. And I got 76% left, and I'm going to guess can make it to 6 to 8, or maybe even 8 o'clock, depending on how much I use my phone. So I'm about to go to the gym in a little bit and go run and listen to music that way. So all that stuff, of course, takes away life. I'm not going to plug it in until I basically runs down, because I want to know roughly how many hours I have with this battery in there. But so far, the phone's working fine and everything. And I thought about this yesterday. I still think, spending so much time, 2.5 hours to change the battery on a phone, obviously, depending on how much you make per hour, would be. But there is a satisfaction that I had after I put that together. It's like, you know what? I put the battery in this phone. And I could do it again if I want to. I don't think I want to, but I could if I wanted to. So that's kind of a cool thing. And honestly, like I mentioned last night, if I was closer to an Apple store or somewhere that someone could do this, I probably would just pay them to do it. Because once you factor in $10 for the battery and whatnot and the other materials I got, if it's $30 or $40, I probably I could have done something else with those 2 hours. But it's kind of cool to know that you can go in there and make things happen. So yeah. As always, rock and roll, and of course, it does compute. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe to my channel, because that would totally compute it, everybody. Yeah.